All right, so get ready because we are unlocking some serious study secrets today.
Oh, yeah.
This deep dive is laser focused on, well, you,
Mm-hmm.
and specifically on your mission to conquer law school.
Yeah.
You were smart enough to send us a stack of YouTube videos.
You did your research. I'm impressed.
Yeah, from law school veterans. And let me tell you, this is a diverse crew. We've got
Yeah.
everyone from a corporate lawyer in the Philippines,
Okay.
Tina Amador Robles, to a UK law student.
Wow. Across the pond.
Yeah.
Cool.
Turned YouTuber Gareth Evans, and even a law school dean,
Oh, wow. Getting insights from the top, huh?
Dean Rod Vera.
Straight from the source.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
They've also got Julian Serafin giving us the U.S. law school perspective.
All right. All right.
Miss Nota Bene with wisdom straight from a Philippine Supreme Court justice.
Whoa. Now we're talking high-level insights.
I know, right?
That's awesome.
And Lex in Motion, breaking down the study process step by step.
So we got the practical advice covered, too.
Yeah. So ready to transform into study ninjas.
I'm always ready to level up my study game.
Okay. Let's go. So first up, let's tackle a myth that trips up a lot of incoming law students.
Oh, a myth. Okay.
Yeah, this idea that law school is all about memorizing.
Right, right. Memorization.
Endless rules and cases. Several of our experts say, hold on, it's not that simple.
It's more than just rote memorization. Right?
Yeah.
There's got to be more to it than that.
Yeah. And this reminds me of something. My mentor, who was a seasoned judge,
Oh, nice.
always emphasized, a good lawyer doesn't just know the law.
Mm-hmm.
They understand how to use it.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's like having a toolbox full of tools. Memorizing might give you the tools.
Right. You've got the hammer, the screwdriver.
But understanding the law gives you the know-how to actually build something.
The blueprint, the plan, the
Yeah.
vision. Exactly.
Yes.
You're not just collecting tools, you're an architect.
That's a fantastic analogy. And Tina Amador Robles, she really drives this point home. She even warns that relying solely on short-term memorization will leave you stranded when it comes to the bar exam.
Yeah.
You've got to build that deep understanding.
It's about the long game, isn't it?
It is.
Not just cramming for a test.
Yeah. And it makes sense when you think about the purpose of legal education. It's not about regurgitating facts.
Right.
It's about developing the ability to analyze
Okay. Yeah.
complex situations, apply legal principles, and construct persuasive arguments.
Oh, that's it. The persuasive arguments. That's where it all comes together.
Yeah.
That's the real skill.
Exactly. Justice Leonin, from the Miss Nota Bene video,
Yeah.
he put it perfectly. Understanding Trump's rote memorization.
He's like, what? I'm intrigued.
You could memorize the ingredients for a cake, but without understanding the baking process, you're not going to end up with a delicious dessert.
Oh, that's a good one. Love that analogy. I'm a terrible baker, so I relate.
Speaking of building a solid foundation, Gareth Evans introduced this really intriguing concept in his video. He encourages students to study like farmers, not hunters.
Study like farmers, not hunters.
Oh.
Okay, now I'm really curious. What does that even mean?
I know.
I'm hooked.
It's such a good one. He argues that most students approach studying like they're on a frantic hunt
Okay, yes.
for random facts,
Mm.
just trying to bag as many as they can.
I can see that. Just grabbing whatever you can find.
But true understanding comes from cultivating that knowledge,
Oh, I like that. Cultivating.
nurturing it,
Tending to the garden of knowledge.
and allowing it to take root.
Letting those roots grow deep.
It's a much more deliberate and sustainable approach.
I love that analogy. It makes so much sense. So you're not just collecting facts, you're building a framework of understanding.
Yeah, it really resonates, especially in a field as complex and nuanced as law.
Absolutely. You need that solid base to build upon.
And Gareth, he didn't just stop at the analogy. He even offered a specific note-taking method called the Cornwell method. Have you ever heard of that?
The Cornwell method. Can't say that I have. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's not as widely known as some other note-taking systems.
Right.
But it's gaining traction, especially among students who appreciate its emphasis on critical thinking. Instead of just passively jotting down information, the Cornwell method encourages you to actively engage with the material, making connections and asking questions as you go.
Oh, so it's about engaging with the material on a deeper level, not just copying it down mindlessly.
That's a key point. It's not just about absorbing information.
Right.
It's about actively processing it.
Okay, yeah.
Almost like having a conversation with the text.
Oh, I like that. Debating with the authors, challenging their arguments.
Yeah.
That's how you really learn, right?
And on top of that, Gareth introduces the SR framework for taking those notes to the next level.
SR framework. Okay, break that down for me.
So SOR stands for Summarize, Organize, Analyze, and Review. It takes you beyond basic note-taking and pushes you to truly dissect the material, understand its implications, and make it your own.
So it's like a multi-layered approach to note-taking.
Yeah.
You're not just capturing the information,
Right.
you're making it part of your own understanding. I like it.
So it's not just about writing things down, it's about turning those notes into a powerful tool for understanding and applying the law.
Turning information into action. That's what it's all about.
Now, speaking of tools, both Tina Amador Robles and Lex in Motion, they really emphasize the power of establishing solid study routines.
Routines, huh? Okay. I can see how that'll be helpful. Law school seems pretty chaotic, so having some structure could be key.
You know, it's easy to underestimate the importance of structure, especially in a field as demanding as law. But creating a routine, even amidst all the chaos of law school, can provide a sense of control.
Okay, I'm following you. So it's like, even though there's a ton of stuff coming at you, you can still carve out your own space and time to manage it all.
And it can significantly reduce anxiety. It's like having a compass that helps you navigate the vast and sometimes overwhelming landscape of legal knowledge.
So you're not just wandering around lost. You've got a map and a plan. I like that.
Absolutely. It's like setting yourself up for success by creating the right environment and mindset for effective study.
Creating the right conditions for those legal seeds to grow. We're back to the garden analogy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And they both get into the nitty-gritty of their routines. Planning your day.
Okay, yeah.
Breaking down those monstrously long legal texts.
Oh, yeah, those are intimidating.
Really understanding what you need to accomplish.
You're not just reading aimlessly. You have a specific goal in mind.
Right. Now, Lex in Motion had this incredibly cool trick that I have to share.
Oh, okay, let's hear it. A study hack. I'm all ears.
So she records her notes
Records them. Okay.
and then listens to them
Uh-huh.
during her commute.
Oh, that is smart. Turning that dead time into study time.
Genius.
I know, right? Talk about maximizing your day.
That's working smarter, not harder. It's brilliant. And it, it speaks to the power of auditory learning, especially in a field where so much hinges on language and argumentation. And it makes me wonder,
Yeah. What are you wondering?
how effective are other auditory learning techniques for law students? Perhaps there's a whole untapped world of podcasts,
Ooh, good point.
audiobooks,
Yeah?
even legal dramas that could enhance understanding.
Oh, man. Using Law and Order to study. Sign me up.
I love that. It's like we're opening up a whole new avenue for exploration.
I'm feeling inspired already. This is great.
And it really highlights how individual learning styles play such a big role in finding the strategies that work best for you.
Absolutely. One size does not fit all when it comes to learning. It's about finding what works for you and run with it.
Okay, so we've talked about understanding versus memorizing and the power of routine. But let's be real. There's no escaping a certain amount of memorization in law school.
True. True. You can't avoid it completely. Some things just need to be committed to memory.
But even memorization can be approached in an engaging way. And even
Enjoyable. Enjoyable memorization. Now that's a challenge.
both Dean Rodvera and Tina Amador Robles offered some surprisingly fun techniques that make the process less daunting.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Fun memorization techniques. I'm all for making this process less painful.
Like Dean Vera, he was suggesting turning the Constitution preamble into a poem or song.
Wait, what? Turn the Constitution into a song. That's actually kind of brilliant. Suddenly it's not so dry anymore.
That's genius.
I love that idea.
Suddenly it's not just a dry list of words, it's a creative expression.
Exactly. And our brains remember things better when they're connected to emotions or sensory experiences. Music, rhythm, rhyme, those all tap into different parts of our brain.
That's way more likely to stick in your memory.
Absolutely. I'm going to try that with some of my legal statutes.
And Tina uses trigger words and color coding almost like a game.
Oh, I love color coding. I'm a very visual learner, so that always helps me organize information.
It's about finding ways to make the material personally relevant and engaging, tapping into different memory pathways to make the information stickier.
It's like hacking your brain, finding the secret code to unlock those memories.
Right. And that brings us to a really important question for you listening right now.
All right, hit me with it. What's the question?
Which of these techniques resonates most with your learning style? Are you a visual learner, an auditory learner, a kinesthetic learner?
Discovering those preferences and experimenting with different techniques can make all the difference in how effectively you absorb and retain information.
It's about turning those study sessions from a chore
Yeah.
into something that actually sparks your curiosity and makes you excited to learn.
Turning study into a game. Now, that's a concept I can get behind.
It's all about finding what works for you, right?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach to learning, especially in a field as complex as law. Experiment, find your strengths, and make the learning process your own.
It's like finding your own personal study superpower. What works for one person might be a total flop for another. Speaking of big picture, it's easy to get lost in the day-to-day
Oh yeah, the grind. Readings, assignments.
of readings and assignments. But several of our experts, especially Julian Serafian, reminded us to keep the bar exam in mind, even in your first year.
Oh wow, way ahead. Thinking long term.
You know, it's like training for a marathon. You wouldn't wait until the week before the race to start preparing.
Right, you'd be in trouble.
You need to build those skills and endurance gradually over time. The bar exam might seem far off, but every concept you master, every legal principle you internalize is a step closer to crossing that finish line.
It's all about building that foundation right, brick by
And
brick.
it's not just about passing the bar, it's about laying the foundation for a successful legal career.
The long game, I like it.
It's like Justice Leonin said in Miss Nadabenny's video, finding your why for studying law is crucial. That intrinsic motivation is what will fuel you when those late-night study sessions start to feel overwhelming.
Finding your purpose, your driving force. That's powerful stuff.
It's about connecting to the bigger picture. The reason you embarked on this journey in the first place is that a passion for justice, a desire to advocate for those who can't speak for themselves. Whatever your why is, let it be your guiding star.
Your North Star, I love that. Keeps you on track when things get tough.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired. And honestly, hearing these experts share their experiences and advice, it makes the whole law school journey seem less intimidating. It's clearly challenging,
Oh yeah,
but it's also doable.
right.
And with the right approach,
Yeah.
it can even be enjoyable.
Enjoyable, huh?
Right.
Well, that's a challenge, but I believe it. When you're passionate about something, the hard work becomes part of the joy.
Absolutely. Embracing the challenges, finding those effective strategies, and staying connected to your passion for the law can transform the entire experience. It's not just about enduring law school, it's about thriving in it.
Thriving, yes. I
And-
love that. It's about growth, not just survival.
Speaking of thriving, Tina Amador Robles had a ton of practical advice for tackling those massive reading assignments that are pretty much synonymous with law school.
Oh yeah, the infamous law school reading list. It's legendary.
She suggested actually looking at the stack of pages before you even start reading.
Just to get a sense of the scope, I can see that.
Hmm.
Sometimes just seeing the sheer volume can be intimidating.
It's about being realistic about the time commitment and not setting yourself up for overwhelm. It's easy to underestimate how much time those dense legal texts can take.
Right. They're not exactly light reading.
Exactly. And she also talked about aiming to finish all the assigned reading, even if it's just skimming at first. She said it's better to have a basic understanding of everything than to deeply analyze only a portion of the material.
So get the overview first, then go back and dig deeper. Makes sense to me. Prioritize breadth over depth initially.
This reflects the reality of law school exams. Often, breadth of knowledge is just as important as depth. You need to be able to demonstrate familiarity with a wide range of legal concepts and principles.
It's like having a mental map of the entire legal landscape, even if you haven't explored every nook and cranny yet.
That makes a lot of sense. And for those inevitable moments when you encounter a particularly confusing passage, she recommended marking it and moving on rather than getting bogged down.
Don't get stuck in the weeds.
It's a strategy that promotes efficiency and keeps you from getting stuck in a spiral of frustration. You can always revisit those challenging sections later, armed with a broader understanding of the topic.
So it's okay to come back to it later after
Okay.
you've got the context. I like that. It's like admitting you don't understand something yet, but you're willing to come back to it with fresh eyes.
Now, this next tip was particularly helpful for visual learners like me. Tina suggested actually drawing out complex concepts, flowcharts, diagrams, anything to help you visualize the relationships between ideas.
Well, that's a good one. I'm a visual learner too. Sometimes seeing it laid out visually makes all the difference.
It's a brilliant way to tap into the power of visual learning. When you can actually see the connections between legal principles, the information clicks into place in a much more tangible way.
It's like turning those abstract concepts into something concrete, something you can grasp.
It's like turning abstract concepts into a mental map that you can navigate. And it reminds us that there are so many different ways to learn effectively.
Yeah,
It's about finding what works best for you.
exactly. What works for one person might not work for another. It's all about finding your own learning style and embracing it.
Okay, back to Tina's tips. She also made a great point about reading cases in chronological order as they appear in your course outline. Apparently, the professors arranged them that way for a reason.
There's a method to the madness, huh?
This highlights the interconnected nature of legal precedent. Each case builds upon or challenges those that came before it, creating a complex tapestry of legal reasoning. Skipping ahead or reading cases out of order could mean missing crucial connections and context.
So it's like a story unfolding over time. Each case adds a new layer of complexity.
So it's not just about understanding the individual cases, it's about understanding how they fit into the larger legal landscape. Like pieces of a puzzle, each case contributes to the bigger picture.
Building that mental map again,
Yeah.
seeing the connections, the patterns, I like it.
Exactly. And that's what legal reasoning is all about. Being able to connect the dots to see how different legal principles interact and influence each other.
It's all connected.
Okay, so we've talked about reading and understanding the material, but what about actually remembering all this stuff?
Right, because it's a lot.
It's like drinking from a fire hose sometimes.
Exactly. How do you make it stick?
Yes. The inevitable memorization challenge. But don't worry, our experts have some tips to make the process more manageable. Dean Vera was a big advocate of mnemonics, especially for lists or enumerations, like using the first letter of each item to create a memorable acronym or phrase.
Oh yeah, mnemonics.
Yeah,
Those can be lifesavers. I still use some of the ones I learned in high school.
those can be so helpful. It's like creating a little mental shortcut to help you retrieve the information. I still remember some of the mnemonics I learned in high school. They're surprisingly effective.
They really are. It's like a little trick your brain plays on itself to make the information stick.
They tap into the power of association. By linking new information to something familiar or catchy, you're creating a stronger memory trace.
Making it meaningful, making it memorable. I love it.
Dean Vera also suggested using color coding to differentiate between general rules and exceptions, which seems like a great way to visually organize the information. I'm a very visual learner, so that one really appeals to me.
Color coding is a classic for a reason. It helps your brain categorize and prioritize information. Plus, it just makes your notes look more interesting.
And Tina had a few other memorization tricks up her sleeve. She talked about creating trigger words or key phrases for each provision of law. It's like having a mental index card that instantly brings the main idea to mind.
Trigger words, like little mental cues. That's smart. It's all about finding ways to jog your memory, to access that information when you need it most.
And she also swears by reading aloud and reciting the material you're trying to memorize. It sounds a little old school, but I've actually found that it can be really helpful.
Old school, but effective. Engaging multiple senses, making that information stick.
It engages multiple sensory pathways, reinforcing the learning process. You're seeing the words, hearing the words, and even feeling the words as you speak them. It's like creating a multidimensional imprint of the information in your brain.
It's like embedding that information in your very being, mind, body, and spirit.
Plus, it forces you to slow down and really process the words, which is probably way more effective than just passively reading them over and over.
Yeah, passive reading can be a recipe for zoning out. Active engagement is key.
And speaking of active engagement, Tina also recommended writing down what you're trying to memorize. It just helps it sink in better, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Writing things down by hand engages a different part of your brain, solidifies those neural pathways.
It incorporates the kinesthetic learning modality, adding another layer of encoding to the process. Writing solidifies the neural pathways associated with the information, making it more durable.
It's like carving that information into your memory, making it permanent.
I love that. It's like our brains are wired to learn through multiple channels. The more senses we engage, the stronger those memories become. Tina also had this fun suggestion about testing yourself by drawing lots with the different provisions you've memorized.
Oh, interesting. A little game of legal jeopardy.
It's like adding a game element to this study process.
Makes it more fun, less monotonous.
It injects a sense of randomness and challenge, preventing you from simply memorizing information in a linear order. It's a more dynamic way to assess your knowledge.
Keeps you on your toes. You never know what's coming next. and it simulates the pressure of a real exam environment where you don't always know what questions you'll be asked. But before you even get to the memorization stage, Tina emphasized the importance of understanding the concept first.
Right, foundation first. Always. You can't build a house on sand.
This goes back to that fundamental principle we discussed earlier, meaning precedes memory. When you understand the logic and context of information, it becomes far easier to remember. It's like trying to memorize a random string of numbers versus remembering your best friend's phone number. One has meaning, the other is just a jumble of digits.
Perfect example. Meaningful information is inherently more memorable. Our brains prioritize what matters.
That's a perfect example. Meaningful information is inherently more memorable. It's like our brains are saying, hey, this is important, let's hold on to this.
Exactly. Our brains are filtering all the time, deciding what's worth keeping and what's not. Make your legal concepts matter.
And that brings us to another crucial point that several experts highlighted: the importance of self-awareness. It's about understanding your own learning style and what study methods work best for you.
Knowing yourself as a learner, that's key.
It's like finding the key that unlocks your learning potential. Some students thrive in quiet environments, others need background noise. Some learn best by reading, others by listening, still others by doing.
So many different ways to learn.
But it's a very personal journey.
It really is. And it's okay to experiment, to try different things until you find what works best for you.
And it might take some experimentation to find what works best for you. Don't be afraid to try different techniques, to step outside of your comfort zone and see what clicks.
Be your own science experiment.
Absolutely. It's about becoming the CEO of your own learning process. And a few experts also touched on the mental and emotional demands of law school. Justice Leonin talked about finding your why to stay motivated, and Tina emphasized the importance of self-care and taking breaks when you need them.
Law school's a marathon, not a sprint. You've got to pace yourself.
Law school is not just an intellectual pursuit, it's also a test of resilience and well-being. It's important to acknowledge the emotional toll it can take and to develop healthy coping mechanisms.
Mental health is just as important as academic success.
For sure. And Julian Serafin even said that law school can be more stressful than some harder programs because so much rides on your first-year grades.
Wow, that's intense. The pressure is real.
This highlights the unique pressure cooker environment of legal education. The stakes are high and the competition can be intense, but it's important to remember that your worth is not defined by your grades.
So true. It's about the bigger picture, about becoming a well-rounded lawyer, not just getting the highest score.
Exactly. It's about finding a balance between striving for excellence and prioritizing your mental health. And speaking of resources, Tina was a huge fan of commercially available study guides, like those Sunbed Red Notes.
Oh yeah, those are popular. A lot of students swear by them.
Those pre-made guides can be a great way to supplement your own notes and get a different perspective on the material. It's like having a study buddy who's already done some of the heavy lifting for you.
Like a shortcut.
Yeah, but she was also clear that they should be used as a supplement, not a replacement for your own notes and outlines.
Right, you still have to do the work yourself. Internalize the material, make it your own. Those guides are just a tool, not a crutch.
It's about striking a balance, leveraging those external resources, but still doing the heavy lifting of synthesizing the information yourself. It's in that process of grappling with the material, organizing it, and making connections that true understanding emerges.
That's where the real learning happens. Wrestling with those concepts, making them your own. That's how you build a solid foundation.
And speaking of grappling with material, she also talked about the importance of creating a distraction-free study zone.
Oh yeah. Got to eliminate those distractions. They're everywhere.
You know, ditching the phone, silencing those social media notifications, really committing to focused study time.
Easier said than done in this day and age, but so important.
Our brains are wired for focus, but they're easily hijacked by distractions. Multitasking is a myth. We're simply not as effective when we try to juggle multiple streams of information simultaneously.
Our poor brains. They weren't designed for the constant barrage of information we throw at them.
It's so true. How many times have you sat down to study with the best of intentions and ended up scrolling through your phone for an hour?
Ugh, too many times to count. It's a struggle.
It's an all too common experience. Creating a dedicated study space free from those digital temptations allows you to tap into a deeper level of concentration and make the most of your study time.
Creating that sacred space for learning. I love that.
And that leads us to another really important point that Tina emphasized: listening to your body and getting enough sleep. She said pushing yourself to study when you're exhausted is counterproductive.
Burnout is real. It's not worth sacrificing your health for the sake of studying.
It's a reminder that we're not machines. Our physical and mental well-being are intertwined. Sleep deprivation impairs cognitive function, undermining our ability to focus, process information, and retain what we've learned.
You're not doing yourself any favors by pulling all-nighters.
It's like trying to run a marathon on an empty stomach. You need to fuel your body and mind to perform at your best.
Feed the machine. Rest, recharge, and come back stronger.
Precisely. It's about sustainable study habits, not just short-term bursts of intense effort. It's about respecting your body's need for rest and rejuvenation so you can approach your studies with a clear and energized mind.
Balance is key. Mind, body, spirit. It all works together.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in terms of preparing for class, understanding the material, and finding effective study strategies. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about exam preparation. Julie and Seraphine had some great tips for tackling those dreaded law school exams, which, let's be honest, can make or break your semester.
Exam time. The moment of truth.
Exam preparation is where all that hard work and dedication culminate. It's your opportunity to demonstrate your mastery of the material, your analytical skills, and your ability to construct persuasive legal arguments under pressure.
It's showtime. Time to shine.
He emphasized the importance of outlining, like really outlining. He said to condense all your notes and case briefs into a manageable document that captures the essence of each topic.
Outlining, it's a classic for a reason. Helps you organize your thoughts, see the big picture. It's like creating a roadmap for your brain.
Creating outlines forces you to actively process and organize the vast amount of information you've learned throughout the semester. It's about synthesizing key concepts and relationships, creating a mental framework for exam success.
Like building a scaffolding for your knowledge.
And then, on top of that, he suggested creating an attack outline, a super condensed version with just the essential rules and case names you need to know cold.
An attack outline? Okay, that sounds intense. Like a secret weapon.
The attack outline serves as a quick reference guide during the exam, preventing you from wasting precious time flipping through pages of notes. It's like having a cheat sheet of your own making, filled with the most crucial information you need to access quickly and efficiently.
I love that idea. It's like having your legal arsenal at your fingertips.
I love that. It's like having a secret weapon in your arsenal. And he had some interesting thoughts about study groups. He said they can be helpful, but only if they're truly productive and not just a social gathering disguised as studying.
Oh yeah, study groups can be tricky. It's easy to get sidetracked and end up just chatting.
Study groups can offer valuable peer support, diverse perspectives, and the opportunity to test your understanding by explaining concepts to others. However, it's crucial to choose your group wisely and ensure that the dynamic fosters productive learning.
You need to find people who are on the same page as you, who are serious about learning and supporting each other.
Right. If you feel like you're constantly tutoring your group members or not getting much out of the discussions, then your time might be better spent studying solo.
Sometimes it's better to fly solo. Focus on your own learning style and needs.
It's about finding the right balance between collaboration and independent study, maximizing your learning based on your individual needs and preferences. Not every student thrives in a group setting, and that's perfectly okay.
Right, different strokes for different folks.
Oh, and Julian also recommended scanning through past exams from your professor, if they're available.
Oh, that's a smart move. Get inside your professor's head, see what they're looking for.
Brilliant advice. Past exams can provide invaluable insights into your professor's exam style, the types of questions they tend to ask, and the level of detail they expect in your answers. It's like getting a sneak peek into the mind of the person who will be grading your exam.
I wish I had thought of that when I was in law school.
And his final piece of advice was hilarious, but also kind of brilliant. He said to learn how to type really, really fast. I never thought of that as an essential law school skill.
Wait, really? Typing speed. That's funny, but I guess it makes sense.
This speaks to the time constraints of most law school exams. The faster you can type, the more you can write, increasing your chances of hitting all the key points and crafting well-developed arguments.
It's like a superpower for law students.
He even mentioned that some professors don't have word limits on their exams, so in those cases, it's all about writing as much as humanly possible.
Wow, that's intense. So it's a test of both knowledge, endurance.
It's a strategic approach, maximizing the opportunity to showcase your knowledge and analytical skills. It's about making every word count, every sentence contribute to a compelling and well-supported argument.
Every word matters.
It's like a race against the clock. But instead of running, you're typing furiously. It's such a unique challenge. So as you can see, we've really gone deep on these law school study tips.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We've covered everything from understanding the law to memorization techniques to exam prep strategies.
A holistic approach to conquering law school.
What are your biggest takeaways from this deep dive?
Hmm. Let me see. I think for me, what really stands out is the emphasis on active learning, not just passively absorbing information. It's about engaging with the material on multiple levels, intellectually, visually, even physically.
Yeah, totally. Like get in there and wrestle with those legal concepts. Don't just highlight them and hope for the best.
Exactly. It's about becoming a student of your own learning process, discovering your strengths, and tailoring your approach to maximize your understanding and retention, finding what works for you and running with it.
I completely agree. And it's so inspiring to see how passionate these experts are about legal education. They've clearly found ways to not only survive law school, but to thrive in it. And they're eager to share their wisdom and insights with the next generation of lawyers.
They're like legal superheroes, passing on their secret knowledge to the next generation of crime fighters.
I love that analogy. It's a reminder that law school, despite its challenges, can be an incredibly rewarding experience. It's an opportunity to delve into a fascinating field, to develop critical thinking skills, and to hone your ability to advocate for what you believe in.
It's not just about memorizing laws, it's about shaping the world with them.
And as we wrap up, I wanted to leave you with a final provocative thought, inspired by Julian Serafian's comment that law school is often more stressful than some objectively harder programs. Why do you think that is? What unique pressures contribute to that intensity?
That's a great question. I mean, it's already a challenging field, but what makes it even more stressful? Maybe it's the pressure of knowing that your decisions, your arguments, will have a real impact on people's lives.
It's a heavy responsibility, but also an incredibly inspiring one. It's about using your knowledge and skills to make a difference in the world, to advocate for justice, to protect the rights of those who need it most.
To be a voice for the voiceless. That's powerful.
Exactly. And as you embark on this journey, remember that you don't have to go it alone. There are countless resources available to support you, from professors and mentors to study groups and online communities.
You've got a whole team behind you.
Exactly. And remember what we learned from those YouTube veterans. Finding effective study strategies, prioritizing your well-being, and staying connected to your passion for the law can make all the difference.
You've got this. Law school is tough, but you're tougher.
And we'll be back soon with more deep dives to equip you with the knowledge and insights you need to navigate the world around you.
Until next time.